All right, good day to all. Sam here with you. We're Thursday, April 19th. And we've run our polls amongst the members. And first up today, per that voting, we have EOS to the dollar on Bitfinex. Now, I've run it up here on an 8-hour chart just to get some perspective as to where we're trying to project from. And there's an assumption here that we have a good technical pivot here. Based on this price action, you can see from what I've currently labeled as a B wave, we get this very clean 5-wave structure coming down. We pivot down here, and then it's a bit of a judgment call here in terms of what pivots they're working from. Here's the front run on the 50, potentially front run on the target. So that's I'm working off of the 2 here. If we go back here, we get a little more distance, and then all the way back here. Looks like it's too far. So I'm just, a lot of times what you'll need to do, you just work from different pivots and see what you get and see, if you can try and identify where the algos are working from, what pivots they're using. This looks to be most likely what they're using here. So all of that said, we're working on the assumption that we have a good pivot in, and that this is our first, this is our higher low here. We get this price action here, and potentially now we're into a new trend. So there's a lot of fundamental data buzzing around with regards to EOS and the decentralized exchange that they're building on their own platform. So we've got an airdrop scheduled. We've got the potential launch date of their exchange. So a lot of fundamental news blowing in the breeze for them. So whether this can sustain or not remains to be seen, but we can dig in here and we can get a handle on whether it's tradable. Now, you can see here, so working from this low, I've got a 1-2 here. Now I've got a modified shift pitchfork here, which seems to be holding the market fairly well. And you can see what we have here, just same analysis, same thing every time, just working from my swing low to my swing high and get it right on there. So what do we get here? The golden corner pocket. There it is, right? So from here, we're sitting right in our peak buy zone. You can see it ends up being a double bottom into the golden zone. And not only do we get the 80% probability here, not only do we get the median line here in the modified shift, but we get all the way to the upper parallel. So we can look at that and think, okay, well, if this is going to be a 1 and this is going to be a 2, well, I know I can make some projections for my third based off of these 3 pivots. So I can take the length of my 1, all right, get it right on there, go for my 2. And you see, as I've shown you many, many times, particularly when we come right to the 618, the 1618 will be very close to the negative 100. So I get this is my target range here. So this is my target for the third in white here relative to this 1-2. And we're not going to go straight, anticipating the subdivision there. I can take this off now. Looks like we've got a 1, 2, 3, 4 underway. Interestingly, 4 right back to the median line. And trying to make a break here now to get up to complete this. The subdivision within this, I'm going to take this off just to declutter the chart. So let's go down. We go to a 3-hour here. We can get a better look at this. Let's get that boosted up a little bit. So there we go. Okay, so here's our 1 into our 2. We know that was a golden zone. Okay, so we can look in here and we can go, all right, if that's a 2 here, it looks like this is my 2. That's my 3. Let's get these tightened up a little bit. So does that make sense? Well, let's get this off now here since we've already got those identified. So here's my 3. I get sort of a sloppy 4th, but the 50 holds. We don't actually, this would be a natural target here, this low volume node here, but we don't get there. So we hold here at the 50. So this 1 here. So working from this as a 1, 2, here's my big impulse wave. Here's my retracement for my 4th between the 38 and the 50, all perfectly solid. Now, looks like we've got the makings of a 1, 2 to get us off into our 5th. So it looks like I might have 1, 2, going up to get into a 3, 4, 5 to get me up here to give me that 5th to complete my 3rd. So potentially now I've got a roadmap here of how we get there. So this is encouraging, this 1, 2, pushing, breaking these highs. highs. Next stop, we got to challenge this high. We got to break and get through. Now we've got a reasonable algo target here, right? That would be, so note what we have here in the subdivision. We have this nice confluence zone up here where we have the algo target in alignment with the 1618. So from this here for the 4th, there's our algo target. Here's the 1618. Nice confluence zone, all setting up here to complete this roadmap. That's just a perfect path as to how we get there, and likely target here for this move relative to this 1-2. Right? So with that in play, there's really not another trade here. So this would have to be a smaller degree, of course. So we go down to minuscule. So if this is what we see here, the next opportunity is not until we complete this. We get this 3rd in, and then we start the 3-wave retracement down to pick up the 4th. So looking at what that would look like. So if we, again, now I'm hypothetical here. So I'd be looking for the 2 here if we complete. So here's my buy zone down here, where I've got really from the 38 to the 50. But so the stronger the trend, you've got good buying potential here between the 38 and the 23. That's the highest probability zone for this playing as a 3rd coming down into my 4th. But I want to see that, the way that you determine this is by the subdivision. So we want to see this kind of price action. So let's get that in yellow. Let me put the wave on it just to make the point. All right. So what we want to see is good subdivision here to help us identify the probability range for this 4th to be finishing. So we could finish here. We could go here. All potential targets relative to this being a solid 4, as long as we don't overlap this 1. Now, the stronger the trend, the more we want to see this holding up in this range between the 23 and the 38. This would be ideal. We see we have good market acceptance here. So to come down here and get into this range, well, then it's a matter of looking for all the subdivisions. So we want to see, particularly in the C wave, we want to see that good subdivision here to offer us a potential for the confluence that we'd look for to help identify where the buy is for the 4 as a candidate to go up and give us our move to the 5th. So as I've shown you many times, the stronger trade in terms of the risk reward profile is always going to be the 2, right? Because you're getting the 3. The 4, right? A little bit more risk, a little bit less upside, but if you've got a solid trade setting up, I'm not saying to avoid the 4s. I'm just saying be aware of where you are. So now that we have this identified, so now we can dial in on our pitchfork. So if I work from this, have I got that right on? Okay, good. So you can see here. So let's just for the sake of the example, let's go to original so you can see it. So this is, I wouldn't discount this as a possibility completely just yet. But as we move further over in time, you have to make a choice working with median lines. You've got to make a choice as to whether or not you want to add additional parallels, right? So here I have the 1.5. Now, so with that as my potential option, so look what I can do here. I can go over here looking to see if the time element, because there's always a time element with median lines, if the time element is starting to push this outside of typical bounds. So if I put on the 2, okay, that looks like it might catch my A wave. If I put on the 3, might catch my C wave. So you got to make a bit of a judgment call here as to whether or not this is still valid relative to these first 3 pivots in terms of where it might be going. And is that realistic to look at this and say, okay, well, could we be going up to get, you got to look at it and say, well, could we be going, we can't go here, right? Likely we're going off in here. So that's, I guess I can take this one off. That's where you've got to make that decision. Do I want to go to a modifier, or do I want to just keep adding parallels? Right? Cases where both have worked. I'm more inclined when I see it moving past the fact that we didn't get there here and we've retraced and now we're rolling over here. But you can kind of see what's happening. This becomes your median line and this becomes your lower parallel. But you got to play with the 2 to try and identify where what geometry is holding the market. So if I take these off, you can see here how I pick that. So that's I'm sorry, that's the shift. So let's go to, that's the shift, first one to check. Now, so that's a contender. So you've got to kind of, you know, there's a bit of art and a bit of science here. So we want to look at the modified shift. This looks better for me, to me, I should say, because of where we eventually could be going. So I like the geometry here, but I would be more than willing to change it if I see the market break outside of it. So if this 3 gets up here, you know, yet again, there's another example where you have to think to yourself, okay, do I want to add the 200% parallel? So just to make the example. So do I want to add the 2 up here? So my third potentially hits this. Does that still hold the market? So whether you've got a modifier or not, the power of it is still the draw, the return to the mean, to the median line, right? So this is interesting to me. It was there on both shift and modified shift. And keep in mind that the shift, the modified shift, too many shifts. The modified shift is identical to a channel, right? I've shown you this before. So if you do this, to come down here, you see how I've got a channel? It's the exact same thing. So, you know, I tend to typically always use the median lines, or the pitchfork, if you will, rather than the channel. There are times where I'll use a channel as well, but predominantly I'm going to work with the median line. So I like this idea of returning to the median line, and I also like that I can add parallels should the market price action suggest that. But I think we're past the point where original is going to be in play. Now, the other variable you have to consider is whether or not you get dominant pivots over here to where you'd redraw, the 3 dominant pivots that you're using to try and identify the geometry of the market. Right now, there's no reason to change from this. So if indeed we've got this 5th of the 3rd going in, 5th of the 3rd, here's our target, which looks like it may well be the case. So I got a good 1, 2. Looks like I'm continually. Next stop here is, can we get through this resistance here? Right? Can we identify that? And do we get all that subdivision here to get us into that target? Do we pivot there? So a lot of variables here at play. But right now you've got solid fundamental news supporting the move. You've got a good technical pivot. You've got good Elliott structure. You've got good market geometry. There's just, if you're not already in, you're kind of playing hurry up and wait. Because I certainly would not be a buyer. I'm never a breakout trader. So the idea of buying the break of this high, that I never do that. I would never do that. I'm just, where you're wrong, right? You know, that's just too much risk. I want to buy it when it's on sale, not at full retail. So if that's moving up towards this as a 3, 4, 5, I'll just let that play. Now, happen to be long here, not for no other reason than that I'm particularly bullish on the project. So I'm a long-term holder on EOS, and we've made some plays in the room in terms of opportunities to add. This was particularly good, right? So there's both opportunities. We've been trading it both to the dollar and to Bitcoin. But here to the dollar, it's absolutely, just a perfect Elliott count. Everything is just playing out beautifully. So if you're not in, you got to be patient. You got to wait for the next opportunity. If you want to try and trade it technically, you just want to be a fundamental trader, well, buy away. But that's not how I would approach it. I would wait for this pattern to give me the next technical opportunity where I can get in and define where am I wrong? How much risk does that mean? How much am I willing to put into this trade? So for those of us in the room that are trading this, or any of you watching on YouTube, is this an opportunity to add, is really the question you're asking yourself. Is this an opportunity to take profit from early buys down here? Is that a profit point? Or do we take a partial, allow this to come down in the anticipation of the 4, that we get a good 4, and then there's a push up to complete with a 5? And then if we complete that, what does that tell? What is that giving us? All that's doing for us is giving us a potential 1 wave. So, right, so on the larger degree, just for the sake of the example, if we get this move here and we finish up here and we get our 38, we go up, we get our upper parallel. Do you see how it all sort of plays? So you've got a very reasonable roadmap here. Well, if that completes there, what have we done? All we've done is just given ourselves a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So of course that's a bit silly. So let's go, we'll go to blue. Okay, so see it? So now we get potentially a 1. No, we know now. Let me take this off. If I get this, the next thing I'm looking for is a 2. I'm looking for that 2 at 50%. So again, hypothetical, if I pivot up here, right here is my target. If I see that, this is my next buy down here between the 50 and the 618. Right, with this now, with bigger targets all the way. So we know, right, I've shown you many times, if we get a buy down there, the target, the shorthand place to look for your third, if you just want to scroll them up there and put them up there and know you've got those targets, well, we know that's going to be very close to the 1618 relative to the length of 1 projected from our proposed location for a 2. So from here, call it $8 to damn near $20, right? That's what makes this worth waiting for, so that you confirm all of this. You confirm a good 1 wave to reestablish the bullish trend. There's our 1 wave. Now you know the 2's coming. It's at some point you're going to get a retracement here, and this is the next opportunity. So you look at that and you say, well, if we get up here to 11, am I okay allowing that to come all the way back down to 8? Or do I want to take maybe 75% profit here? Just in case. So why not take all of it? Well, you certainly could. But you know, there's nothing that says that this must pivot. We don't know. It's just this is the probability zone. So you can look at that and say, man, it's at $12. It's not coming back to $8. Well, it may not. It may not. This whole thing could get relabeled. You don't know. But right now, that's the roadmap that you can have on your chart, save it somewhere, put it up. Okay, this is my EOS block. All right, there's my 3-hour chart. I've got a roadmap. Now, you don't have to smother this thing and check it every hour. Let it develop. That's why, you know, I 3-hour, 4-hour charts. That's what I work from. That's partly a function of the work that I do amongst members, so I don't have the time to day trade these as I used to. But now I prefer it. So I'm looking for major swings. So all of this to me is all worth waiting for this trade, the 2 to the 3, the big 3. So no need to rush to get in this. At some point, there will be a sell-off that will set this up. High probability. No certainties, no absolutes. There are no absolutes in the market. So you allow for the roadmap to play out. All right? Is it following it? You know, obviously it's not going to be precisely this. There'll be adjustments along the way, but can you still read it? Can we apply the Elliott rule set and the likely algo participation? Can we find ways to get in and lower the risk, so that we're not just buying it and crossing our fingers and hoping and saying, I'm an EOS holder? You want, you know, I mean, you can, certainly, it's up to you, but I would tell you there's no reason to do that. If you're patient and you wait and you pick your spots, you can be much more precise with your entries. There's just no reason to be sloppy. Right? I mean, if you're drawn to this kind of analysis, if you're watching this, I'm assuming you are. Right? Otherwise, like the project, buy it, hold it, and go on with your life. If you want to be a technical trader, here's your roadmap. Here's the way to do it with precision. All right, guys, I'll wrap it there.